Our next dive is the Cita, a 3,000-ton cargo ship that ran aground on rocks on the 26th of March 1996. She was grounded for 12 days before finally breaking in two and sinking, becoming the Scilly Isles' most recent wreck. Despite being a young wreck, she is already a haven for wildlife and encrusted with anemones and hydroids. There is something for most divers on this wreck, with depths ranging from 15 to 38 meters. She now lies on her port side, giving a diver the opportunity to explore both above and below decks. The stern is adorned with dead men's fingers and anemones, and at the deepest part of the dive you can see the variable pitch propeller and rudder. She is truly an impressive sight, and with the waters filled with natural light, you can see many of the ship's features well preserved. We enter a stern storage room through a hatch and follow the ladder down into the structure. Once inside, you can find many of the original features still intact, including pipework running along the floors, and this interesting storage cage. A thin layer of silt covers most surfaces inside the wreck, and care should be taken to avoid disturbing it. The Cita's superstructure offers many holes that are tempting to explore. With the hatch that once covered this machine room lying on the seabed somewhere below, we can see pressure vessels and pipework that once used to supply the ship's living quarters with water and fuel. Although the hatches that used to lead to the engine room collapsed, we can still find some of the machinery that powered this huge ship, such as this generator. And pipes ending abruptly where they were torn from their mounting when the wreck sank. One of the reasons the Cita broke its back just 12 days after running aground is that the containers and hatch covers were not fully secured to the deck. Consequently, when she began to sink, she rolled, and the living quarters and bridge fell some 10 meters away from the main superstructure and now lie on the seabed at 40 meters. When she sank, fishermen and divers went around the islands towing in loose containers, later to claim salvage on them. Computer mice, car tires, tobacco, house doors, even women's summer shorts were contents of containers wrecked around St. Mary's. There were even allegedly jet skis that some lucky Cornish fishermen had towed ashore as containers floated as far as mainland Cornwall. Now home only to pollock and bib, the living quarters offer a series of swim-throughs, and the experienced diver can enter through one of the open doors to explore the many rooms inside. The corridors are quite narrow, but inside you can find the galley, offices and sleeping quarters. Talking of sleeping, according to the authorities, the reason behind the wrecking of the cargo vessel was that the watch-keeping officer had fallen asleep and the watch alarm had been switched off. As you proceed to swim from the stern towards the bow, the superstructure becomes less and less recognizable. In fact, as you reach the base of the rock that was the cause of the ship's demise, all that remains is a tangle of metal. Which is now the hunting ground of many large pollock. Following the debris trail through a gully in the rocks leads you to the bow section of the Cita. Although not as immediately impressive as the stern of the ship, the bow is remarkably intact. Here we can see the ship's bow thrusters, and after 10 years underwater, the anti-fouling paint is still apparently working well. Swimming under the bow leads to a boulder-lined tunnel where jewel anemones adorn the rock face. And dead men's fingers hang down from the roof. And occasionally you see a glimpse of light. Upon reaching the exit of the tunnel, we are once again reminded that this was once a ship. And a top-knot flatfish swims away, startled by the lights. The shallower bow section of the Cita is adorned by kelp and other algae. Once laden with wood, this is now a home for many wrasse species. Dead men's fingers snatch any sustenance that passes by, and the walls are covered in plumos and jewel anemones. A hatch leads down into what used to be a cargo bay. And here we find a leopard goby and a group of whelk eating a dead sea hare. Wrasse are one of the most widespread of all the UK fish species. This ballan wrasse was particularly curious about our camera. This curiosity was probably due to the fish snapping up small, startled prey that were disturbed by divers as they finned around. At the shallowest part of the wreck, which signifies the end of this dive, you can see the impressive foremast still standing.